You're listening to Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. I'm Turi, along with Marci Persky. In this installment, several new ways that weather can kill you, or at least make your life horribly inconvenient. And on the subject of inconvenience, there is that crazy person you just can't seem to get rid of, unless you want to try my method. Hi there. I love when you start like that. I just love when you begin the podcast in a state of complete frustration and dejection. What is going on?
I spent all morning with a guy sent by my insurance company to look at the damage to my dearly beloved Juke Perry. For people who don't know, it's my 2011 Nissan Juke, which is a relic because they don't make them anymore.
And you just paid him off, which is why this had to happen.
And put in a really expensive new stereo.
Well, you can always take that out and put it in the next car. I don't want to even say that. Car. Yeah, I know the feeling.
But here's what happened to Juke Perry. We were supposed to get storms.
Mm-hmm.
So even I ran into town, coming home like the skies just turned black.
Oops.
So I'm speeding like a maniac trying to get home. And I get to our street and it's hailing. And the wind's kicked up. And Turi, I'm from the Midwest. This is the biggest hail I have ever seen in my life.
You took some pictures. It was pretty darn impressive. It was like a cocktail shaker's worth of hail. I mean, it
was. And the goat, our goat cover, we have a big canvas cover to give them shade.
Yeah.
Was almost to the ground. It was so filled with this giant hail. And then on top of that, we had 100-mile-an-hour winds. And this stuff does not happen up at 7,000 feet.
Well, now it does.
Well, now it does. And now it did. And so power went out. I sat around in the dark just doing nothing for a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, okay, I'll call Frankie to come home early and at least hook us up to generators. And so Frankie gets stuck in the highway in an accident. He wasn't in the accident, but
good.
Some idiots that don't know how to drive in 100-mile-an-hour hail, I guess.
Like everybody knows how to drive in 100-mile-an-hour hail. Of course.
Yeah, I mean,
of course they do. Yeah.
Duh. We learned that in driver's ed.
Of course.
Michigan.
It's in the movie.
So he got stuck. So we're sitting here for hours just praying that nothing comes crashing through the glass sliders in the back.
Yes, because those will chop you in half. Speaking, I have to divert you just for a second because the freakiest weather-related death is one of the stories that just came out of Hurricane Ian. This group of women for a birthday celebration rented a vacation house, condo, Airbnb, something like that. And then they didn't leave. And then they went up on the second floor because the water was rising. And then in one of the worst deaths that you could possibly imagine, the roof falls down. A nail goes through this woman's neck and she bleeds to death in front of her friends. That, to me, that's like, you can't even imagine that happening, or at least you couldn't until you heard this just now or read it. And now, forever, I will think, oh my gosh, I'm not even safe in a room with no windows because a nail can stick me in the neck and kill me. And don't you hate when you have a whole new way that you could die added to your repertoire that you never had before?
When you have a tornado or a hurricane, don't go upstairs.
Well, no, they had to. It was flooding downstairs.
How about you evacuate when you're told?
A little late for that now, but I mean, if you don't go and you think, oh well, you're not from here and you don't really understand it, and
then I don't feel sorry for you. I'm sorry,
nature,
but
Darwin.
I don't feel sorry for people that don't evacuate.
You're the one who lives where there's no water.
We have water. We haul our own, and that's all part of this story too.
Okay, let's go.
So this hail is pummeling everything outside. Frankie got home finally and said, okay, so all I do is complain about this log house not having insulation. He said, now I love our log house because it's sturdy as hell. We had no damage to the house from 100-mile-an-hour winds.
Well, if you have damage to a log house, it just looks like an aging patina, right? Don't you just get to call it antiqued then, or distressed, or something fashionable like that? Like those people who beat their furniture with chains and then sell it on Etsy?
Well, we just didn't want to lose it. 10 houses over like a quarter mile from us, which is where this tornado touched down. 10 houses were destroyed. A bunch of people that live in trailer houses are off their foundation. I guess they were fifth wheels just flying through the air like the Wizard of Oz cows.
I've gotten in so much trouble for saying anything bad about trailers, mobile homes. I've just gotten in so much trouble. And
There's
yet,
a lot of them out here.
Yet, yeah, I understand. People need a place to live, and it's affordable. And I just still think they're God's own bowling pins, is what I think.
But anyway, miss, that's what I think, who lives in the city.
We've got our own problems. We had somebody shot to death 3 doors down, so I don't want to hear from you about
All
how
the power lines went
plush
down.
my life is. Yeah, right. Right after the spousal unit walks the dog, somebody shot to death literally 3 doors down from us, and now we get to think about that. Yeah, and every time we pass that house, we're like, yeah, great.
Kevlar.
How come we don't see that in New York Fashion Week? How come we don't see the fashionable Kevlar dog walking ensemble? Where's that?
Probably because we don't watch Fashion Week.
Yeah, probably. Don't care. Yeah.
We literally had feet of this giant hail by Monday night. And on Tuesday, it still hadn't melted because it was cold out. So we still had like the back deck. Hail was piled up. Underneath all the trees, hail was piled up.
The goats must have loved it. Something to climb on.
No, the goats do not love that.
No?
The goats hid in their house.
What kind of goats are they, the weenie wussy goats of yours?
Goats don't like water.
Wait, what about mountain goats? Come on now. I hear goats climb Rocky Mountain sheep. I think you just got the weeniest. As usual, you get defective every kind of pet. Every kind of pet of yours is some kind of mutant pet.
I'll tell you about my Kevin difficulties in a minute.
Okay.
First, we haven't even gotten to Juke Perry, and there's been a lot of talking.
All right.
So I didn't even notice anything. Eve's truck's windshield was cracked. I walked around, and I only saw like this. Little things were wrong, like our garbage can was 6 miles away. But Frankie comes home and he said, "Have you looked at Juke Perry?" And I said, "Well, I drove him today." But no, haven't really looked. My car is so bashed up. It happens from being short. Okay, I couldn't see the roof, first of all. I give you that. Second of all, I didn't even think to look at the hood.
Really?
Or the passenger side.
Really?
Yeah, I was looking at too much other stuff. I had a lot on my mind. Anyway, the insurance guy came this morning. There are over 200 dents in my car, like big ones.
What are they going to do? Are they going to give you a check? Oh, wait, before you answer that, let's just take a second to offer a moment of sympathy for this poor insurance adjuster whose job it was to drive up a remote mountain into the wilds of Arizona, down Marci Persky Road to count individually 200 hail dents in your 2011 Nissan Juke. That's his job.
He thinks they're going to total it.
Well, then they give you a check and you can decide if you want to fix it or just drive it the way it is. And I know you're going to take that check and you're not going to replace that car because you love that car.
No.
Right?
And I'm not going to fix it either.
That's right. Why would you? At this point, my car is like a demolition derby vehicle, the mommy van. It's a 2005, and parts of it work and parts of it don't. But as long as it starts, stops, brakes, and steers, I'm all right with it. Plus, no matter what the spousal unit does to it, and he is not the most careful driver, I don't care anymore. Just don't care. We parked it.
Yeah, I've been really careful with dings on Juke Perry.
Yeah, well, I tried, but my husband doesn't drive Juke Perry, or you would have to revise that.
That's true.
Plus, I live in the city, let's point out, and I parked around the corner the other day by the corner bar, which is always a mistake. And I come out in the morning, someone
puked on it?
No, somebody clearly tried to get out of a parking place who'd had a few too many, and my bumper got between them and the open road. So I thought about doing something about it, and then I just thought, nah. And you know what? It's kind of liberating. Let me just remind you, it's liberating to have a demolition derby car. It's just, you don't have to smash into people actively. You just feel like you have a protected layer around you because nobody wants to go near your car because they feel like, and they're correct, you don't give a rat's patootie anymore. So you get parking places. People are like not going to fight you for a parking place. People will give you lots of room to get in and out of your vehicle because they know that you don't care. You'll throw your door open and their BMW be damned. You're in a great situation now. Just take a few moments to appreciate it. I'm kind of surprised you could even get an insurance adjuster to come out there.
I'll tell you something, Marci Persky Road.
Yeah.
To be beating from this storm.
Did your sign hold up?
No, we haven't put it up yet.
Oh.
We're not putting it up until we figure out a way to now fix this road that you're driving sideways on.
Well, compared to you, I'm almost embarrassed to give you my news.
Mm-hmm.
I made it through the holiday.
Yeah.
Apparently,
are you going to tell me about how everybody ate at their break the fast dinner?
No, but everybody did eat at the break the fast dinner. That's true.
And were you the police, the manners police?
No, because I was busy running food in and out of the kitchen. There's always one crazy person in any congregation. Somehow those people always seem to find me. And I managed to make it almost all the way to the end of this holiday without seeing the crazy person. And I've never forgiven my girlfriend who said, "Oh, why don't you invite crazy person to your home?" when she newly showed up a few years ago. And someone is genuinely certifiable when you're kids, and this would have been like 4 years ago when they were still much smaller, when your kids say, What's wrong with that lady? What's wrong with her? She's a little too quirky even for you, Mom.
Quirky. I like that word.
Quirky, yeah. She showed up a few years ago. We invited her. We went through kind of a long run of increasingly disturbing people. Speaking of table manners, there was an elderly person we were asked to give a ride to. She immediately tried to commandeer our entire schedule, like when she wanted to be picked up and when she wanted to be brought back. And she complained because we were like 5 minutes late one time. And then we invited her for a holiday dinner that involved brisket. And I have to say, I've got some pretty hearty eaters in my family, but I have never seen anyone pack away brisket like this woman. I think I had made like a 12-pound brisket. And I think about 10 of those pounds, I was wondering, was she putting it in her purse? Where was it going? It was just the most astonishing thing I'd ever seen. And then she started dictating how long we could stay places that we'd brought her to. So we crossed her off our list of people we could do right by. And then we ended up with this other crazy lady. And every time you ran into her, you had to spend at least a half an hour hearing about her terrible siblings, her evil ex-husband. They were all devils from hell. And she had no off switch. She came to our house, parked across our neighbor's driveway so that they couldn't get out, and pretended she hadn't noticed. And at the point where my neighbors were getting angry about crazy people that I was inviting to dinner, I decided we should be done with her too. So I thought we'd made it all the way through the holiday without having to deal with her, but she pops into the kitchen. Picture this, okay? This is the holiday where everybody fasts. No food, no water, no nothing. Then the fast is over, and I'm in charge of getting all of this food out of the kitchen and onto tables so that all these people who have not eaten or had anything to drink in 24 hours can have juice and food, right?
Yep.
And I'm standing in the kitchen doorway, pushing carts and dragging pots. And she walks into the kitchen. And unlike every other person who's walked in the kitchen who has said, "Do you need any help?" She walks into the kitchen and says, "I just wanted to wish you And I said, "I'm sorry, I can't have you wish me anything right now." And I don't think I used my elbows, but I do think I turned my back on her. And I think it was kind of rude. But on the other hand, when you're carrying a boiling crock pot between two oven mitts, what can you do?
Oops. That's what you can do.
Well, if people hadn't been so hungry, I might have. So now you can count that against me. Table manners, yes. Other manners, not so much. If you've made it this far, chances are you've been enjoying Turi Ryder's She Said What podcast. in which case you might also like my book, She Said What? A Life on the Air. You can find that at your neighborhood independent bookstore or on Amazon. Marci and I really appreciate your good reviews wherever you care to leave them. Your kind words help the podcast grow. Thanks.